Hi guys, Cornelia here. So at the moment I'm working as a recruiter and I've been working as one for the last 3 years, more than 3 years. I wanted to start a series on my channel where I touch subjects in regards with finding a job and searching for job hunting and so on. I know that it's a struggle nowadays to find the right job for you, and a lot of people are not taught in school about these things: how to build a CV, how to prepare for your interview, how to answer to certain questions, and so on. And as a recruiter that has a lot of experience and have seen tens of thousands of CVs, I wanted to speak a little bit about how you can build a CV in today's video. And in the next video I'll tell a little bit about the interview processes, how can you prepare for it, and so on. So let's begin. I'll share my screen in 1 second. We are back. I've also made a PowerPoint presentation. I think it's easier to understand some information when you have a visual support. So when you are constructing your CV, you need to take into consideration two things. One, the structure and the design. The structure refers to different parts of your CVs. What sections and subsections will you have? How are you going to write, and what are you going to write in each section? And the design basically refers to how are you going to arrange all of the things that you want to write in your CV in your page, and the colors, how are you going to arrange the sections of your CV, and so on. First of all, I'll speak about the structure, and at the end I'll show you some designs of the CVs that I found on the internet. First of all, I wanted to give you some tips to build the right structure of your CV. You need to take into consideration that your CV will be read by another person. This means that you need to make it as easier to read as possible. That's why you need to make it legible and to use bullet points for everything that you want to say or want to write there. Then you need to highlight on the first page important information about yourself. And in a CV, most of the time, this is your name, your contact information, your work experience, and your summary. These are the most important things that you need to tell the recruiter that is viewing your CV. Another thing that you need to take into consideration is that your CV needs to be short. Here I wrote 2 to 3 pages max. In my opinion, 3 pages is already too much. You need to keep it as short as possible and as concise as possible, because every recruiter sees around 50 to 60 CVs minimum per day. If they have the choice to read 3 CVs that have 1 page or 1 CV that has 3 pages, most of the time they will choose the first option. So take this into consideration and make it as short as possible. Another thing is that you have to arrange your information in chronological order from the latest experience that you have to the most distant one. So for example, you need to write in your work experience section the work experience that you have at the moment, then the work experience that you have 1 or 2 years ago, then the work experience that you have 5 or 6 years ago, and so on. You also need to have specific delimitation and the title of this section so the recruiter can know what they should expect below each title of that section. And don't forget to add your contacts. I think that 1/3 of all the CVs that I've read so far in all of my experience didn't have either a phone number or an email. So basically, if I don't see this contact information, I can contact you for the role. You won't be getting any emails or phone calls from recruiters. Name and contact part. This should be on your first page of your CV, and the information that you must write there are your name, your phone number, and your email address. These are the 3 things that you need to write. You can also add other links, such as your link to LinkedIn or link to portfolio, your address if you want, or your postcode. You can add your photo as well. For the photo part, you don't really have to. If you don't have a professional photo or you don't want to add your photo there, you don't really have to. But if you choose to set a photo there, Please make it as professional as possible. Don't put there any photo from an event that you were, or a group photo from where you crop your face. Don't do that. I've made some screenshots to the personal details part. As you see, most of them have their email address, their phone number, have their LinkedIn to their profile, and their citizenship. Of course, if you are in a country where you have a lot of immigrants, it's great if you write there your visa or citizenship, because the recruiter will know that you have the right to work there. The summary part. So here you need to write a short paragraph about yourself. The things that you need to write here needs to be in direct contact with your work experience. So the three things that you have to mention is your current role title or the title that you want to apply for in your next job, your skills, and what you are looking forward in the next role. You need to keep it short and write some specific things that are directly connected with your work experience. Don't write about your hobbies, don't write about your interests. You can have another section in your CV where you can mention this if you want. But yeah, for the summary, you need to keep it short and related to your work experience. Here are some samples of summaries or profile descriptions that I found on the internet. As you see, they are saying things related to their work experience. For example, this one, he says that he have 8 years of experience in financial management and reporting. This one, he said that he's a certified public accountant with 6 years of experience. Also mentioned some skills, constantly evolving, accounting procedures and technologies, detail orientated, and so on. Most of the things that they are talking here are about their experience, not about their interest or hobbies or other parts of their personality. The work experience section is the most important one, and here you need to touch on a few subjects in each work experience that you had. So basically at each workplace that you worked before, or every place that you want to mention there, you need to first name the position that you had, second, name the company, third, name the period when you worked there, the time frame when you worked there, the month and the year. For example, if you worked for March 2020 to April 2023, you need to add there the month and the year. I saw a lot of CVs that only have the year. For example, I saw a person that worked from 2022 to 2022. So I don't know if this was from January 22 to December 2022, or if it was 2 or 3 months from, I don't know, April to May 2022. So yeah, it's really important to mention the month, because this will give the recruiter more clarity in terms of your years of experience in a certain role. Then you need to write the responsibilities that you have, or the duties that you had there. Another thing that you need to mention are the responsibilities that you had there. So all the things that you've done, your daily activities, your duties. You can also mention there some achievements or something that you are proud of. It's a must to tell in your CV the responsibilities that you had or your daily activities. Please don't skip this step. I know that it can be hard to write or it will be time consuming, but you need to have at least 3 or 4 responsibilities named there with bullet points. The last thing that you need is to mention the skills that you've gained or the skills that you use at that specific workplace that you work. Here you can make a separate subsection of the work experience when you write skills and then name a few, or you can set the skills when you write about the duties that you had there. And I have an example for this here. So for example, this person worked as a school teacher, an English teacher, and as you see, he wrote a lot of responsibilities that he had there. He also wrote the date with the month and the year, the name of the school. He didn't make a specific subsection with the skills, but he mentioned in his responsibilities. For example, he can provide prompt and accurate and effective administrative activities, right? Or he had a lot of teaching skill and adapting his teaching to the students' academic needs and abilities, and so on. The person here wrote the skills that he gained while writing about the responsibilities that he had at that workplace. Another example, as you see, he also wrote the key achievements in a separate subsection, and at the bottom of this section he named the technologies that he used. So basically these are the skills that he gained working there and the skills that he used there, and he wrote a separate subsection for this as well. Other things that you can write in your work experience section are achievements. You can also describe the role that you have or the projects that you worked on. If your company was small or a startup, you can describe the company as well, or their scope or their main activity. But yeah, don't take too much space to describe the company. And you can include extra activities that you had that weren't included in your day-to-day activities. For example, you've done some mentoring, or you've done different trainings for your colleagues in different subjects, something like that. As I said before, you need to arrange all of this work experience in a chronological order from the most recent to the ones that were more distant. At the top of this slide, I've also mentioned the fact that if you have a lot of experience, 10, 20 years of experience, and you can summarize it in 2 to 3 pages in your CV, the things that you can do is to mention and describe the most recent experience that you had in your last 6 to 10 years, and then the other ones that you had 10, 20 years ago, you can only mention them without writing a description with the responsibilities, skills, achievements, and so on. And I'm saying this because most of the time the recruiters and the hiring managers are most interested in the most recent experience, not in the one that you had many years ago. You can write this one, and if you want to mention the experience that you had 10 or 20 years ago, you can mention it during your interview, and if the recruiter is interested in it, he can ask you at the interview. In a CV, you need to keep it short, and you need to write the latest and most relevant work experience that you have. As you see, here are other examples with the optional things that I spoke about. This person wrote a short description of his role, the key achievements that he had there. This person also wrote here a short description of the company. So yeah, you can write this also, but it's not a must. This person, besides the description and the responsibilities, also described some projects that he had here. This person, he is a project manager, and he worked at this company since 2015. These are a lot of years, and yeah, if you worked for 5, 6, 10 years at one company, of course you can write more than, because the recruiter will expect you to have more achievements, more responsibilities described, more projects that you've done there, because the period that you spent at that company was bigger. For example, if this person worked here for 1 year, he really didn't have to write that many things. For the education part, most of the time the recruiter expects to see the university education, bachelor, master's, PhD, and the high school sometimes if you don't have those degrees. If your bachelor, master's, or PhD are not relevant to the field where you want to find a new job, for example, you went through career changes, you've done a boot camp, and now you want to work in a different other industry, or you want to work with a totally different role title, you can also write the courses that you've done and the boot camp that you've done for that career change here. Let's say that you have a degree in the field that you want to work in. For this, you need to mention the name of the degree, the university, and the time frame when you pursue that degree, or the year when you graduated. For other certifications, you can build another section of your CV. This is something that I will recommend. If, of course, you have like 10 certification, 12 certification, yeah, you can build another section. But if you have 1 or 2 certification, yes, you can mention them in the education section as well. You don't have to build another section and use more space just for 1 or 2 certifications. If you are a recent graduate, this section is your time to shine, because you don't have any work experience or relevant work experience. Most of the graduates don't have one. And here you can describe and mention more things that you've done during university. For example, if you are a recent graduate in computer science, you can describe there some of the projects that you've done during your courses, or you can mention the name of your bachelor or master's paper and what you've done there. You can also describe here the modules that you had or other extra activities. For example, if you pursued some sports during university, some competitions during university, and so on. Yeah, if you are a recent graduate and you don't have anything to write in your work experience section, here you can describe more of the experience that you have and things that you've learned during your education. For example, the first person only mentioned the year, the name of the degree, and the university. This person on the top right wrote about the modules, the relevant modules that he had. And the person here described a little bit about their thesis, their achievements at university, the final grade that he had. It's best to describe all of this if you don't have that many relevant work experiences until then. But if you have, you just have to keep it short. If you want, you can have a separate subsection of skills in the work experience part. When you have that, you only mention the specific skills that you used or that you gained at a specific workplace that you work. The general skills section of your CV is another section, not a subsection, okay? Where you need to write all the skills that you have. And these are soft skills and hard skills. The hard skills are the technical ones. If you know, for example, to work with different programming languages, with databases, or with Microsoft Office package, Excel, Access, Word, PowerPoint, and so on. And for the soft skills, you need to write things that will make you a good coworker, a good manager, or a team player, and so on. Things like problem solving, being a good communicator, having some leadership skills, being efficient, having a strategy, and so on. These are things that you need to assess in terms of your personality and way of working. And yeah, it's better to write as many as possible for both soft and technical skills, because the way that recruiters are looking for CVs are based on keywords. And the keywords that a recruiter use are most of the time the skills that a person mentioned in their CV. For example, if I'm looking for a project manager, right? I'll need to look for project management, team management, leadership, strategy. If he can work with tools for managing, such as Jira or Confluence, this will be the hard skills. Basically, these will be the keywords that I will use, and most of the time the keywords are the skills from a person's CV. That's why you need to write as many as possible. But yeah, you need to be mindful of the skills that you write there, because they need to match the job title that you apply for. For example, if I'm applying for a job as an electrician, I really don't have to write the databases that I used in university, or if I know to work with Photoshop, because these are not relevant to an electrician job. Here are some snapshots of the skills sections that I found. As you see, this person in the middle wrote a lot of technical skills. This person here with the black background wrote a lot of soft skills. If you don't know any programs or programming languages or other things, you can make a section similar to this with your soft skills. Other optional sections or information that you can write in your CV are the certifications. As I said before, in the education section, you can have a different part for the certifications that you've done, or Udemy courses that you've done at your last workplaces, and so on. Or you can write them under the education section, if of course there are not that many. If there are a lot of certifications, I would recommend to write them in a different section. Then you can write your voluntary or social work, hobbies and personal interests, languages. For me, the languages is a must. Now it really depends on the field that you apply. If you are working in a language-based industry, of course, you need to write the languages that you know. You can also write if you have a driving license or a car. This is important because, for example, if you apply for a role that is not in the city where you are currently living, you can mention that you'll be open to commute there from time to time and you have the means to do it. For example, if you apply to be a driver or to work in transportation, you need to write that you have the right driving license permit that can help you drive a truck or drive a bus. For example, this person wrote the volunteer experience. As you see here is a separate section of the certificate. This person also wrote awards, the words that he had during his career. This person wrote the hobbies, reading, traveling, music, and another person wrote about their interests. And yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit about the language part. See, there are two types of writing the language proficiency that you have. The first one, it's easier, and if you did not take any language exam that can assess your levels of knowing a language, you can write your proficiency as it is in this example. He's a native English speaker. He can speak in a proficient manner, let's say. In French, he is fluent, so he is proficient. For Portuguese and Spanish, it's limited. So if I'm looking for a person that can speak either Portuguese or Spanish, this person won't be that great because he said that he is limited. Another way that you can write your proficiency is by assessing every sub-skill of knowing a language. So this person wrote the final assessment that he got, I guess, in a language exam for each skill in speaking a language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Now we are moving to the second part of constructing your CV, the design. And here, when people ask me how they can design their CV, most of the times I told them to do as they want. This is your CV and you have to like it. When you choose the design or the way that you arrange the section in your CV, you need to be mindful of other persons that can read your CV. That's why it's better after you make your CV to ask a friend, a parent, someone to read it and give you some feedback. Here I've selected some ways that you can arrange information in your CV. For example, the first one, this person divided the page in two and wrote the name of the section in the left and then described all the informations in the right side of their CV. So yeah, here he has the work experience, then he mentioned all the work experience. The education, he mentioned and described the education part. Skills, mentioned and described the skills part. In the second CV, of course, this is a sample, but we can use it as an example to see how a person can make it as simple as possible. This person only wrote the title of each section and then describe it below without dividing the pages or doing any other things in terms of design on their CV. These are two designs of CV that I like, and I'll tell you why. First of all, for both CVs, as you see, they are divided in two, and you have relevant information in both parts of the CV. And this is great because it will help you save space and you can write more things in one page. In the first CV, he has his picture, his name, and his contacts on the top part of the page, which is great. And then he divided his CV in two equal parts on the left and right side. And on the left side, he started with work experience. And this is great because in most European languages and in English, every person writes for left to right. So because he wrote his work experience on the left side, a recruiter or a person that reads the CV, their attention will be drawn to the left side where he wrote the work experience. And the work experience part, as I said, is the most important, a person's CVs. Then he wrote in the right side the skills, certificates, education, awards, and languages. This person was pretty smart by doing this CV because he wrote the most important information, aka work experience, in the left side of the page, where most of the people start reading in English from left to right. So the focus was on his work experience. The second CV, He wrote his name, his title or the title that he wants to apply for, his contact information here at the top page. As you see, this person divide his CV in two parts, and the right part is bigger than the left one. You can do this as well, and because the right part is bigger, the focus will be drawn to that bigger part of the CV, where, as you see, he wrote the most important part, the experience. He also wrote here the education and the summary, which is great. As I don't know if I mentioned it, but the summary needs to be, of course, in the top part of your CV. And on the left side, he wrote the skills, languages, hobbies, other certifications, and yeah, courses and so on. There are two types of CVs that I love because are easy to read. There is a lot of information in one page, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's too cluttered. I want to show you some bad CV or bad CV sections. So yeah, basically don't do this. The first picture here, as you see, this person wrote only the responsibilities, but they didn't write the role title or the position that they had, the company, or the time frame where he worked there. Then this person did the opposite. He wrote the date, wrote the role title, the company or the institution where he worked, but didn't mention any responsibilities, skills, achievements, or any description of the things that you've done there. Here are two bad CVs. So for example, the first one, it's the picture. The picture is off-putting, and I'm saying this because it's not a professional picture. As I said before, if you want to set a picture on your CV, do a professional one. The one with sunglasses, really, it's not that great. And then another thing that bothers me here is the design of the CV. So almost one half of the CV is filled with his name and this design that I don't understand, and I don't know why it's there. In the second CV here, my main problem is that it's really hard to read. And I'm saying this because of this centered type of writing the information. This CV, I wanted to speak about it also because, as you see, this person here is a student or a recent graduate, and this applies to persons that are students and recent graduates and don't have any work experience or any experience at all. Please write something in your CV. Even though you don't think you have that many skills or you're just at the beginning of your career, find something that you are proud of, find some achievements that you have, describe some of the projects that you've done during university or voluntary work that you had. If you don't have any work experience, please find something to fill your CV with and something relevant. Talking about your education is the best thing that you can do, but if you don't want to talk about it or it's not that relevant, you need first to do something that is relevant to the field that you want to find a job in. For example, if you have a career change and you've done some courses, mention those courses, mention some of the themes that you've learned there, or you can also do some projects in your free time, describe the projects in your CV, even though they are not from university or they are not from a specific workplace. These are mainly all the things that I wanted to speak about. Be mindful of the way that you construct your CV, and when you are doing it, think about the people that will read it. So yeah, if you are choosing a certain design or you want to write certain things on your CV, it's great because of course it's your CV, you wanted to like it, but at the same time you need to think about the other persons that will read it, because you'll be assessed based on it, and this could be an important step to go further in your interview process. Yeah, if you have other questions, leave them down below in the comment sections, and stay tuned for the next video.